think I am beginning to understand what it's like to be blind.
2016 saw the release of Notes on Blindness, a critically acclaimed biopic which explored the impact blindness has on life. Simultaneously, a supplementary VR title was released to promote the film in a unique and engaging way. Yet far more than selling the player on a movie, Notes on Blindness VR sells an experience. To call a piece of art an experience is a cliche as old as time itself, I know, but if I can think of one game that truly lives up to the scope of the sentiment, it would be this one. What I took away from this game is difficult to describe in words, but let me try my best to explain. Our lives are defined by our senses. Every moment, be it good or bad, trivial or monumental, is experienced by our ability to perceive it through touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. It is this ability to comprehend these moments through our senses that distinguishes us from being alive rather than merely existing. We're not passively unaware of what happens around us like a rock or the breeze, but actively taking in this information to understand our surroundings and interact with them accordingly. This defines the human condition. For those of us whose senses are unimpaired, the concept of living without one or more of them could stir up some existential fears. To have the means through which we perceive life diminished may be viewed as only having a partial experience of what life otherwise has to offer. One could be left to believe that this cheapens the human experience. Notes on Blindness VR, however, would argue otherwise. Before I go further into how the game challenges this notion, I'd like to get into the game aspect itself because there really isn't all that much to it. A largely audio-visual experience, the gameplay consists of walking, sometimes with a blind stick, and at one point using wind powers. Even for such a small half-hour-long game where the expectations for innovation are already relatively low, it takes very little advantage of the possibilities available in this medium. Unlike many other VR titles, even those of similar length, players are given very little creative control and player agency. Yet this minimality of features works in the game's favor. If anything, giving the player more freedom would have dampened what the game is trying to convey. The game isn't about you, the player. It's about coming to understand the experience of blindness and the effect it has on both the physical and emotional self. Throughout the game, you'll hear the audio recordings of John Hull, a writer who lost his sight in 1983. These recordings recount his experiences with blindness, ranging from discussing a blind person's idea of what a good day is to how vision becomes irrelevant to merely living a happy and satisfying life. Throughout these recordings, the player comes to realize that blindness is not a hindrance in life, but more of a different means through which to experience it. Hull does not live a fulfilling life in spite of his condition, but rather because of it. Meanwhile, what you see is not what a blind person sees, well, because you wouldn't. Instead, colorful yet simplistic visuals will pop into view when an accompanying sound is played. These help to illustrate the concepts and ideas Hull conveys in his recordings. A perfect example of this would be the use of red distorted surroundings coupled with intense atmospheric music to perfectly simulate the feelings of anxiety and dread of being lost while blind.
Oh, blindness.
These incredible interactive sequences of complementary visuals and commentary help the player to understand Hull's experiences and emotions on a personal level like no other medium could. Notes on Blindness VR isn't just a game, it's an experience. It doesn't just help players to understand the perspective of those with blindness, it allows us to truly empathize with it. And just as much as this, it helps to quell the fears of living with a disability. To lose one's sight does not diminish the human experience. Just because you can't see your life doesn't mean you can't feel it. If you like the content I make and you want more of it, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and if you don't like the stuff I make, be sure to let me know in the comments. Have a good one.